set for his first season as an HC in the NFL. Brandon Staley of your Los Angeles Chargers. How are you, Coach?
Rich, great to see you this morning. Great to be with you.
Great to have you here. You must be just all fired up. You can't. You want to kick this thing off today, I'd imagine, right?
Yeah, we just had a great team meeting a little while ago, which I wish you could have kind of zoomed in for that. So back here at our facility, and getting ready to take on the Seahawks this week to finish off preseason.
Okay, how are you going to approach this? Because as we know, preseason is different. Last year there wasn't any. This is the first time there's just 3. Are you going to treat this as the week 3 dress rehearsal that it used to be with a 4-week preseason, or not? What is your philosophy on this one?
We're going to treat it like we have the first 2 games. We're going to make sure that the guys who need to compete and define their role within the team, we're going to make sure that they get every opportunity to showcase their abilities. And then for the guys who have not played yet in the preseason, that will still be the theme for this week. And so looking forward to going up there against, Pete and their team. It'll be a good measuring stick for these guys that are competing for spots. And just like we have the first 2 games, we're going to try to give our guys a game plan that allows them to be successful, that gives us a chance to win the game. And that's how we're going to approach it. And hopefully we have 3 really good days of practice.
Has Herbert lobbied to get in at all?
He has. He was really disappointed, crushed. That's why we love him so much. But
he was crushed.
He was.
Really?
I think he was a little surprised. He was caught off guard, which again is another great sign. And but it's been. I feel like we've really had a productive camp, and we've got 3 practices this week, and finish it off the right way going up there to play those guys.
Now I know why you say it's a great sign, but I want you to verbalize it. Why do you think it's a great sign that the unicorn, as many of us refer to him, is crushed that he can't play in preseason football?
Justin knows how far he has to go to be the player he knows that he's capable of being. And I think that he's got that drive inside of him that knows he can improve. And so he wants to get as many chances at improving as possible. That's why he's always the last one to leave the practice field. If you've taken a look at any of our practices, including last week against the Niners, he's always the last one to leave the field. And he's got that refreshing drive that all the special players have, regardless of the sport. And we really enjoy, competing together every day. I know that.
Well, I mean, he is just, again, had such an incredible rookie season, and I know you weren't there for that. That said, I'm sure you're up to speed as to what maybe he was dealing with, for the lack of a better phrase, in his maturation process. What's different, do you think, for him entering this season than last season when he didn't know he was going to start, and then we all know how he got thrown in? Because we're hearing so much about sitting and letting a quarterback sit around and watch based on the 5 first-rounders that were taken. You don't have to deal with that, but I'm wondering where you are on this philosophy, knowing Herbert, what happened with him last year, and how you're getting a quarterback a little bit more ready in your first year as the HC.
Yeah, I think with Justin, I think he's going through a lot of what when you ascend as quickly as he did, and I think under the circumstances too, like the offseason that he had, even though he was a top 10 draft pick, because of the pandemic and because of the way the preseason kind of expressed itself, and even during the season, I don't think there is much of the off-the-field stuff that is sort of demanded and required of you as a franchise quarterback. And I think this offseason he got a taste of that, where there's all this stuff off the field now that's coming your way, whether it's the award ceremonies, whether it's the media tour, all the marketing and sponsorships. And there's a lot more people pulling at you, I think, off the field, and just getting into his routine that way, and then finding out his off-season workout routine. And I think that was something that, he was going through for the first time, and I thought he navigated it really well, where he was giving himself the personal space that he needed, but also putting in all the work that he knows is required and that means so much to him. So I think he found that balance, and it is different, because, this camp has been different than the last one. I mean, after every practice, there's, several people there asking for a bunch of his time, and so that's just part about being a franchise quarterback, and I think he's handled it with a lot of grace and humility, as you would expect. And so I think that part has been different different for him. And then I think in terms of where he's at as a player, there's just two totally different spaces. What he knows, he's been able to study so much more. He's been exposed to so much more, offensively, defensively, situationally. He knows his receivers a lot more. I mean, I know that Keenan's been kind of quoted like, hey, this guy didn't even throw me a pass last preseason. Now they've had a full off season to work together. So I think there's just so many factors that have contributed to him being a much more confident player, a much more prepared player. And with that being said, there's still so much room to go.
Brandon Staley, head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, here on the Rich Eisen Show. How much of a focus is Ekeler going to be in your offense that you're willing to share with us in front of everybody right now?
Yeah, Rich, I think speaking specifically from a defensive perspective, anytime you can activate the running back in the passing game and you have to truly defend all 5 eligible receivers, it is a much tougher cover. And that's what Austin forces you to do, is to defend all 5 eligible receivers because of his ability as a receiver, both from the backfield and then split out within the formation. He provides you a lot of different variations of where you can align him within the formation, and you can kind of create a lot of hybrid groupings because of him. And then I think he really fits our run scheme. I know a lot of people talk about him as a receiver, but I know that when I was in Denver, we had so much respect for him as a runner because he's got such great vision. He's got really good pace as a runner, Rich. He's got that perfect pace where he can really set blocks up, and then he's got more power than you think for being a, what some people say a smaller. He's a shorter guy, but if you see him, this guy's as packed as anybody on the field in terms of his play strength and his power. And so I think he's a really good fit for how we're trying to run the football as well. And so, he's, a complete back, and I think that certainly gives us a big-time weapon on offense.
And it seems like you got a quarterback back on defense, too. Derwin James, we did see the house call from practice last week. What just the raves that I hear from your building and from teammates and from obviously evaluators and what he can do. You obviously, as you mentioned, you're from a defensive background and coaching, but you're a quarterback by trade from your playing days. What does James do? What does he do that can help you and gives you the pieces to move around?
He's a really complete player. And I think that that's what stands out to people in the NFL. You notice the complete players right away. And he's a complete player that happens to be among the rarest talents as well. So when you have talent and then rare skill set, and then you have rare makeup because of who he is as a person, competitor, leader, then you have something that's different and that doesn't come around very often. And so there's good reason for why people talk about him the way people do, because he earns it. And on our practice field last week was a good example of it. He's having a fantastic camp. He's coming in outstanding shape, full command of our defense. He improves every day. And then just what he does for our team from a leadership standpoint, his energy, his command, the way he practices, the way he prepares, the way he trains, he rubs off on everybody, myself included, and he has a way of bringing out the best in people, and love, working with this guy.
What do you mean by he rubs off on you? Give me an example. What does that mean?
I think when you are with really special players like him, I've been with, AD and Ramsey, Khalil Vaughn. When you're around really special players, you have a great responsibility with that. When you have people that are as gifted as he is to really get the best out of them. And so every day, me, Ronaldo Hill, Derek Ansley, Tommy Donatel, all of us coaches, Joe Lombardi, our offensive coordinator, we're trying to just maximize this guy in every way and live up to him because, we know what he's capable of. And so we just try and pour as much into his game as we can. And I think the type of energy and the type of focus that he brings every single day. And as a coach, that has a way of drawing a lot out from you at the same time.
Well, so what's your team capable of? You got Bosa, you got playmakers all over the map right there, Coach. And, I'll just put it out there. I know you're probably not going to answer it, but I'll ask it anyway. We saw last year a team play in their home stadium in the Super Bowl. You got 2 shots at it this year. You're one of them. What's your team capable of this year?
I think what we're working towards in this camp, and then what we'll be working for is becoming a complete team. a team that in all three phases that's capable of winning every game that we play. And I think that that's your goal as an NFL team, or really any team, is just whoever you play that week, you feel like you can win that game. And I feel like what's most important to us right now is creating that identity in all three phases of the game, becoming a team of teams where we really, know how we play, understand how we play, why we play that way, and then being able to take that to each and every opponent that we play. And I think that, it's been a process in order to get this thing off the ground, but I feel like this camp's been really competitive, and I really like the makeup of our team because of a lot of the guys that you've mentioned. I think what makes you feel confident is a lot of people just talk about your talent and the pieces that you have, but then it's okay, how do those pieces come together, and can you become a team? And I know that we have that, because I know that our premium players, like you mentioned, with Derwin and Joey and Keenan and Justin and Corey Lindsley and all these guys that are really special, I know that they're tremendous teammates and that they're winners. Okay, you go back, these guys are winners, and so excited to get this thing off the ground. And Rich, the other thing is we got to be ready for the storms that are coming.
Oh yeah.
Because the NFL is a really tough league, and we our division alone is really tough. But every game that you play, there's danger. There's danger every game, and we just got to be ready. We got to be ready for what's coming our way, and I'm confident that we will be, because of a lot of those guys that you've brought up.
Well, I got to ask you this too, because the storm's coming, as you point out. Charger fans will let you know there's a special storm that always appears to form for Chargers fans. With about 30 seconds to go, fourth quarter, weird stuff happens is only way to put it. How do you, as a new HC there, prepare for that stuff to avoid the usual that sometimes occurs for your team for some reason?
Yeah, I think the specifics is you have to really prepare your practices like games, and you pour into the practices and design them like games are, put them through a lot of the situational parts of the game, and organize your walkthroughs like games, where you're creating even more inventory that your guys can draw from in terms of operating in some of these tight situations, and knowing the rules of the game, time, score, situation, all that stuff, and then knowing what we like to do and how we like to do it, and knowing your opponent. And so there's so much that goes into it, that factors into it. And then from just a pure game management standpoint, putting a team of teams around you, Rich, it's like it can't just be a one-man operation.
Sure.
There's so many variables that are happening, dynamics that are changing. That's what makes the NFL special, is you surround yourself with people where you have a system in terms of how you operate and how you communicate. And I think that we're doing our best to continue to improve each and every day. I think these first two games in the preseason, and then we had a scrimmage, obviously, at SoFi. I feel like we're doing a good job of that every day, and getting closer to being the operation that we hope to be. But that's all I can say, is that you don't wake up in the day and organize your day like real casually. We're really specific, really purposeful in how we do things, and hopefully over time that cumulative effect will take over, where hey, we thrive in those situations. We're not like hoping something's going to happen. We're going to go make it happen because we're prepared and we're ready for it. And I'm excited to see our leaders take off with that as we play real games here soon.
Fantastic. As I let you go, you're talking about practices. I heard from my colleague Albert Breer, who was watching some of your practices. Are you doing yoga? You're having your guys do yoga to keep them fresh, like stretching out? Like this, is this what's going on here, Coach? Is that a fact?
We are. I think sports performance, our players' health is at the front of my mind each and every day.
Okay.
And making sure that they're ready to prepare to train and not to pace themselves. The way you truly improve is when you compete to your fullest potential. And so what we've kind of done is, we start our practices off with an activation period, which is kind of a two-part. It's kind of a foam roll with kind of, in one station, and then like a yoga sort of ish, where you've got mats where you're kind of doing a lot of that stuff that you see taking place probably on television sometimes. But it's a 15-minute activation, and then we have a 10-minute dynamic stretch. And what that does is it makes our players really, they're ready to practice. They're warm, like they're ready to go. They don't have to kind of ease their way into practice. They can get into practice and start playing right away. And then after practice, we have a recovery station, which is a lot of the same stuff, like a recovery area, while one side of the ball is lifting. And so we've kind of gotten into that rhythm and routine. And our players we've gotten great feedback from them, and we've kind of partnered up with them. We started it in the spring. Our sports performance team, led by Anthony Lamondo, Jonathan Brooks, those guys are G's, and I feel like it's helping our team become as good as it can be.
So there's a photograph of Joey Bosa in a tree pose? Because if so, I'd pay to see that.
There'll probably be one somewhere. I'm confident
pay to see
in that.
Okay. And then lastly for you, now that you've been at SoFi, you got a game, you said you got a scrimmage. What's the parking situation? Let's go. Is there a spot for me when you're not there?
Couple things. Going back to the activation, we may have to get that for you before your race next year.
Fact.
Make you go through that.
Fact. The foam rolling for me is the toughest part. I'll be very honest with you. I'm
it's
52.
Painful.
It's not.
There's some pain in that.
That IT band is like you could seriously play a guitar and have a string lighter than my IT band, but the parking.
Parking. Okay, so I have a little bit better scouting report for you this year.
Thank you.
Because I have actually driven to the stadium.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do is we're going to endow a parking spot for you. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get sponsors all over the world to endow some spots.
Yes.
And we're kind of in that marketing phase.
Yes.
I actually have some calls that I need to make here later today. But the Rich Eisen Foundation parking spot will be down there in SoFi so that you can, have it's kind of like the Bruce Wayne when you kind of go down in SoFi. It's kind of like down there in the cave.
Yes.
So we'll make sure that you have a front row seat down there, so your access is as good as it gets.
Okay, because my first show from right next door to SoFi is the first Sunday of the season.
Right.
And so you're out of town at Washington. I'm ready, is what I'm saying. That's Sunday.
And
it's free.
We're in the process of getting the endowments, and all these people contributing to these spots. And Justin Herbert, Keenan, Derwin, we're all on the phone actively recruiting.
Thank you. Brandon, I appreciate it, Coach. I appreciate it. I'll pay it forward. You know that. I'll pay it forward. Thanks for the call. Really appreciate it. You take care.
Thanks
Let's
a lot,
do it down
Rich.
soon. You got it. There's Brandon Staley, head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.